Hey everybody, it's the DIY Pool Guy, and today I've got an idea to build a motor cover for my pool pump. If you were with me on my last video, at the end, my big concern or complaint, I guess I should say, was that the motor itself, the last motor, only lasted about 2.5 years, and I really expected a useful life of about 3 to 5 years. So I didn't even get at the low end of that expectation. But it gave me this idea to maybe see if I can come up with a cover for the motor to, shield it from water and the direct sunlight. Part of the reason, I've got a reasonable expectation, things fail. It's a mechanical device that sits outdoors subject to the elements. My particular setup puts it on the sun setting side of the house. That's a really hot environment. So I get it. So I want to see if I can come up with a cover that gives me a longer useful life. So I just replaced the motors just 2 weeks ago. So got the date marked and we'll see how long we go. And I know I can buy these things online. I saw just a crappy plastic one for about 40 bucks on Amazon. But I'm a tinkerer. I like putting stuff together. I like seeing what I can come up with. And of course, always like to see if I can do it better than something you could have got off the shelf. So let's run around, take a look at the pump. I'm gonna give you an idea of the concept I'm looking at, and then I'm gonna head out to the store, see if I can get the materials that I think I'm gonna use. And then we'll head out to the shop and see what we can put together. All right, stick around. Okay, here's my setup. You can see I've got a second pump here, so I'm actually gonna be making 2 of these today. But most important thing here is that this motor, just to the touch right now, and it's overcast actually right now, but the motor's warm, very warm to the touch. So this unit gets hot, and the worst thing we could do is put a cover on here that isn't vented. We want to make sure we get air circulation in order for this to remain cool, because if we overheat it, it's only going to shorten its useful life. But we want to shield it from the sunshine, and we want to shield it from the rain on the top. So we need a hard cover on the top and then a vented side cover. So I'm going to head out to Lowe's, see what I can pick up there, see what we can cobble together, and then we'll head over to the shop. Okay, welcome to the shop. Made it back just in time. Looks like the sky is about to come down, but I got my materials, and let's see if we can't fashion something up. So here's my idea. Got 2 14 by 8 air vent returns. This is just a regular return vent cover that you would see in the house for the HVAC system. Got 2 of those. The idea being that I'll put these on each side, and that's going to allow for that cross ventilation we talked about just a minute ago. So these will make up the sides. And then I got a piece of this ducting, and all I'm going to do is just open this guy up. Let's see if I do this here. That'll give me a round cover. That'll give me keep the rain running off the top of it so it doesn't sit there. And we'll just screw those to the sides, and we should be off to the races. As far as cost goes, 7 and change a piece. Call it $8 each, 16. This was 7 and change. Call that 8. But I'll get 2 of them out of this, so another $4. So for 20 bucks, a savings of 18 off the one I saw on Amazon. But this will be all metal, no plastic, and I'd like to think it's going to be a better quality. So stick around and let's see if I can cobble something together here. Okay, first to the top. So what I've done, I've already cut one of these, cut that out, and part of the process for me was I used the workbench to flatten it out so it's easier to cut, and I just use a good heavy set of tin snips. But now I'm going to take this one. Now what I've done is I've cut it 2 inches longer than the actual vent itself, and the reason for that is this is going to be a sharp edge, and the longer it sits outside it might rust, and we don't want it to be a hazard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold over 1 inch of this, so at least we've got a double thick edge. It technically will be a rounded edge rather than just a sheer metal edge. So we'll do that in just a minute. So what I did is I took the first one, measured at 18 inches, lay it on there, draw a line, be my guideline. Go. And it's going to be slightly longer than this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line 1 inch in, and then I'm going to rig up something that's going to allow us to bend it. I do have a 20-ton press that I could use, but the fixture's not quite going to be wide enough. This will be quick and easy and something everybody should have. And just as a side note, the ducting, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt to work with, and obviously it's very sharp once you cut it. You can very easily use just a piece of wood, piece of plywood if you got, but understand obviously that wood's going to rot over time being out there in those elements, so that's why I went with something metal. All right, let me get the rig set up to bend this thing, and we'll go from there. Okay, got 18 inches. What I did is just marked a 1 inch line there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but generally I want to make sure I get it the right distance here. I actually marked it at about 7/8 just because as you bend it over, it's going to take some of that length. So I got that lined up. Got just a piece of angle iron here clamped to the deck. It could be a 2x4, piece of plywood, anything you got that's a straight edge. The real trick with this is to make sure that when we put it in here, it's square to the bending edge, which we've got here. And then once we do that, we're just going to simply just take the mallet. Yeah, moved on me a little bit. No cuts. All right, we'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and do two at once, or both of them before we start assembly, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I've got them bent over, and look, very smooth, and you can see in the process, got a little cut there, so that's why I wanted to bend those over. Now, I got to looking at it, I saw one side of this is naturally already smooth. It's got its own bend here. But this other side is actually a straight edge, but it's got a fold right behind it. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to peel these back. I already started doing it over here. And I'm just going to snip this little piece off here, and that'll leave me left over with the doubled over edge. So I'm going to go ahead and do one of those, and then we'll go from there to get them mounted up on the vent sides. Okay, got one of these taken care of. I got smooth on all sides. Figured I'd show you how to do the second one. Obviously, the big tip here is that if you take care of this long edge first, then you don't have to go back and do what I'm doing right now. But I did have to cut little dog ears out here since it was already folded that other way. But all I'm going to do is take a big regular head screwdriver. I'm going to stick it in this groove just enough to open it up. Go all the way down the spline. All right, and we'll take it over to the edge. Got the heavy hammer rather than the mallet. It just seemed to move the sheet metal that much easier. Now I'll just stick it over here on the edge. Go ahead and fold these corners back over. There we go. Now I got all my edges are nice and smooth. Don't have to worry about anybody getting cut, especially if there's any kids or anything around there. So, all right, we're all set. Next step for us is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to pre-drill these. I think just 3 should do it. One on each side, one in the middle. I pre-drill that simply because I got bent over metal, and really I just really want to focus on the screw getting into this vent over here. So let's give a quick put together, mock-up, I should say. right, so it's coming together. So we're gonna put 3 screws on this side. I've got some self-tapping screws, by the way, another $1.50 in cost, so I'm at $21.50 in cost. But go ahead and get these pilots set. I'm just gonna use my cheap Charlie drill press over there to pop them through there. And then we'll come back and see if we can't get these side vents mounted up. Okay, I just marked out the edges and the center. Now these edge holes are gonna be a little bit tougher because of the fold over here. I got my 4-man backstop on my cheap Charlie drill press. We'll just go ahead and pop a couple holes in here. I've got the pilot holes drilled on the sheet metal, and I should mention that was a 5/32, or you could do a 3/16. And for me, I did get number 10 1/2-inch self-tapping Phillips head sheet metal screws, and of course these will cut through the sheet metal, but for me, I just want to get through the sheet metal easily, but I want to focus on getting into the vents tight, so that's why I drilled the pilot holes. I could have just used to run them straight through there, but this just makes it easier than it's skating, and it should go right in there. All right, let's talk about the vents. So we've got our register returns here, and one thing I've been known for is not paying attention to the details. So what you want to look at is these vents are angled this way. We want to make sure that we mount to the top of this, because obviously if we did it the other way, our rain is going to get in here, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So what I'm going to do, just to kind of keep it simple for me, is just put 3 dots here. Doesn't matter where, it's just to be a visual reference that this is where I want to go ahead and mount to. All right, so we'll lay this out here. Our sheet metal, and I'm just going to center it up, line it up on the top vent line, and we'll go ahead and put the center one in first. All right, got that in. There we go. All right, get this flipped over and do the other side. There you have it. And so now what we'll do is we'll look at one of the things that I haven't engineered yet, and simply because I wanted to put this together first, see what it looked like, is got to make sure we got a way to keep this from catching some wind and blowing away. Down here in Tampa Bay, we get a lot of wind, sometimes hurricane strength winds, so want to figure it out. I got a couple thoughts. I can mount it to the bolts on the motor. I could just put a piece of wood across here with a screw on each side just to hold it underneath the motor. So I'm going to run around the side of the house, see what I can come up with, and then we'll get back in the shop and do that last little bit of a tie down. One thought was just a zip tie through the top to the handle on the motor. So just got to keep it in place. Doesn't have to be bulletproof. So let's see what we can come up with. Okay, back from over on the side, and a couple learnings. First, you could see here's what I walked back there with. This is one of the things that I should point out is the stovepipe that I bought when I went to Lowe's was a 4-inch stovepipe, even though this thing's opened up. And this fits perfectly over the motor, but as I got back there, I noticed, you know what, I really want this thing to sit over the motor, over the beginning of the housing, which we'll see when I take you back there. So I remedied that by just putting more of a crease in here, which would give me just a little shorter top and more width on it, so that's going to be perfect. If I were going to do this again or go shopping for the materials again, I'd get a 6-inch stovepipe or even an 8-inch stovepipe. But anyone will work. I got the floor to work, so that's just fine. If you got it laying around, no need to make the investment in it. But all right, as far as the engineering for how we're going to get this to mount there, after a lot of consideration, sometimes it's just the most simple approach. We've got the handle to that motor. It sits about 2 inches back here. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to drill 2 holes. I use a black zip tie. That's going to zip tie it down, and Bob's your uncle. We're done. And it's only a zip tie. There are other solutions that I could have come up with that would require, you know, putting screws in the side of this, lifting the motor to put something underneath it. I don't need it. All I need to do is keep it from flying away. I don't think it's going to get a lot of wind in the first place. It's more of a safety precaution. So we're going to keep it simple, stupid, and put 2 holes in the top. And unfortunately, as it usually does here in Tampa Bay, it's rained on us. So I'm going to have to wait for the rain to clear up. Got some white Rust-Oleum paint that we're going to put on here just to keep it you know, covered with some paint. White is going to be more reflective, keep it cooler underneath here. So we'll get the 2 holes drilled, get it cleaned up, and then I'll take you out back and we'll get it zip tied in, and we should be all done. Okay, the rain finally let up, got the paint on, got a nice coat, or 2 coats of Rust-Oleum on here. Just took those out to the side of the house and popped those on top. You can also see we've got the holes on top. 2 things that we're gonna do before the install. One, you'll see that they're still bent out a little bit. What I wanna do is I'm gonna work that crease a little bit to get those things vertical, if not past vertical, to the point where they won't even stand like you're looking at them here. The point being, we want them to squeeze as tight as we can around the motor housing to ensure those vents are maximum blocking the water that might be raining down on them, especially like we had yesterday. All right, and one more tip I'm going to show you. We're going to head back into the shop. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the zip ties just to give them a nice cleaner look and even make the install a little bit easier. Okay, we're going to put a little 90-degree bend on this. Pretty straightforward. If you've got a torch, you could use maybe a cigar lighter, torch lighter. But I'm just going to turn this thing on with a pair of needle nose pliers. I'm just going to run this through here a couple times to soften it up. There we go. That's it. Okay, we're back out by the pump, and you can see, as I said, I'm going to bend those things in, and all I did to do that was just take it, press right here, work that to where we got it a little bit more tightly. Go ahead and slip it on top. With the tie wrap. There we go. Not too challenging. Drop right in. I'm going to go ahead and do the other one, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, just thought I'd give you a shot of both of these. Nice little install. I like how it looks, and I think it's going to be very capable of extending the useful life of those motors. One thing I noticed is that, at least in this design, we've got a lot more venting than that plastic unit that I saw up on Amazon. So really pleased with this. As I said, per each piece, I'm in about $21 as compared to $38. Total work time was probably, you know, call it an hour for actual work, 2 hours if you include paint and measuring and back and forth, and 4 hours if you include in the shopping for the materials. So all in, a great little project, 4 hours, and hopefully gonna extend the useful life of those motors and save me a little money in the process. All right, have a great day. Leave your comments below. Tell me what you think.